On today's show, we got a big announcement about Media Day to tell you guys, let you know about that. And we're also breaking down the questions we want answered on Media Day.
Hey, we're back. We're back together. It's a brand new season. And, man, we got some things in store for Locked On Mavs.
Right here on Locked On Mavs.
Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and coordinator for the Locked On Podcast Network. And joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor, and writer at Mavs.com. Back with us. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
A week off from Locked On Mavs.
I'm sorry. I did the intro wrong.
What?
Writer and contributor at Mavs.com. The We Back Boy, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Let's go. We are back. And
Rusty.
well, it's weird because the NBA offseason leading up to, training camp, for majority of NBA people, they just take all this time off. Like, there's a reason why a lot of the, top reporters and, people who are in this business, as their full-time job, they're just, they take this time off. It's a break away. We're just grinding out pods every day still. So
you know us.
We just alternate, taking a week off. And
I don't think the No Dunks guys have done an actual NBA podcast in like 4 months.
I believe it, but you know what? Locked On Mavs has.
Good for them. We've been doing our thing.
But man, it's a new season. This is year 5 for us. As far as like season doing, Locked On Mavs, which is crazy. This is year 6 covering the Mavs. It's a brand new season. Yeah, and it's a fun season, fun team, and yeah, we have some fun stuff in store for Media Day today.
Like I said, we got a pretty big announcement for us, about Media Day that we will talk about a little later. First of all, thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. Remember, Locked On Mavs is free and on all platforms, podcasts, and YouTube. Subscribe to Locked On Mavericks on YouTube. We are, as of the recording of this, 10 subs away from 7,000.
Oh,
Can we get to 7,700?
We're passing that today.
Can we get to 7,700 by the end of Media Day? That's my little goal. Can we get that many in one day so that we hit 7,700? That would be awesome. Luka's number. All right. What we're getting into today. Questions we want answered at Dallas Mavericks Media Day. I'll tease a little bit. Isaac and I will both be there. But we have a bunch of questions for people, and they're only letting a certain number of media people there to ask questions. A lot of people will be on Zoom and all that kind of stuff. I think the huge story, there's going to be a ton of different media days, not just the Mavericks. I know Jazz, Raptors, a whole bunch of, I think I had a list of all the Locked On hosts that are going to be at, like Celtics, Hornets, Hawks, Magic, Pacers, Pelicans. They're all tomorrow, and they're all going to be asking this question. How many players on the team are vaccinated? What's the status of everybody, especially after that article came out with Kyrie Irving quotes and with Jonathan Isaac quotes and all that kind of stuff? That's going to be a huge story tomorrow for everybody and for the rest of the season, probably.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like that is the biggest storyline going into this season, that, the Rolling Stones article came out.
Yep.
Crazy reported piece of how he was. I mean, that guy was in a players union meeting and, pulling quotes from that and getting direct quotes from, certain players and stuff. The fact that, this is a two-sided thing, for some people out there. And, the fact that there's laws in place, like, and we're saying this is the biggest storyline because this could drastically change the whole season for the whole league. Because, I mean, not that Andrew Wiggins is, a top 5 player in the league, but as of we're recording right now, Andrew Wiggins has to set out every single home game for the Warriors. Kyrie Irving, if he
can't practice, he can't go in buildings.
Yeah, will he have to set out every home game for the Nets? Like, how are they going to handle unvaccinated players going to San Francisco, going to New York? Can they play? That there's still some stuff that has to be figured out, but it's just we're still there. Like, we're still in this, no matter how bad a lot of us want to be out of it. I think we all want to be out of this, but we're still in it, and the NBA still trying to navigate the waters on this of unvaxxed versus the vaccinated.
And it intersects life in a way that is like so personal for all of us, because I'm sure everyone listening has somebody in their family, in their friend group, somewhere, somebody maybe that they work with, maybe just an acquaintance that they know that is like, I'm not getting the vaccine, right? Like, I'm not doing this. I'm doing my own research, all that kind of stuff. The Jonathan Isaac quotes about how he was doing his own research, watching Trump speeches, doing all this stuff, like going down these rabbit trails. I'm like, man, that sounds so relatable with so many people that I know in my personal life. And I personally want to say that like, I'm a Christian person that has gotten the vaccine, that believes in science and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if, like, I think there are some people out there that may not know a Christian, like somebody that believes in God or believes in Jesus, that actually thinks that way and believes that way. So I want to come out and say that I am one of those people that do, and that got a vaccine and all that kind of stuff. So I just want to make that very clear off the top.
Me too, guys.
I'm
a pastor. I work at a church, and fully vaccinated over here.
Yeah. So not to make it about us, but I just wanted to say that to everybody. This is going to be a big story, and we're not sure what's going on with the Mavericks and all that kind of stuff, but we'll find out, and that'll be a big question tomorrow.
It will. And your camera
it's driving me nuts.
It's going wild right now with focus. So if you're not watching YouTube, then you're missing out on Nick trying to get up close and personal with the camera. The other storyline that's probably the biggest one outside of this Rolling Stones piece, the vaccination story, and all of that is Ben Simmons. You know, I've been out this past week, and the Ben Simmons conversation. It's become like an evergreen thing. Like, will this ever go away? Can we please just like trade him? I'm so tired of this. I'm just done. I'm done with the Ben Simmons story. I'm done with all the updates. I'm done with the next iteration of he wants out. We all know he's wanted out for so long.
We get it. And you're not playing again for the Sixers. We understand.
That's why I almost I've almost, the pendulum swung back for me of like, I almost don't care what Philly thinks at this point, because like, Philly, you have known this whole time. Yeah. So why are we acting like this is like, oh, he's gonna sit out? It's like, I get it. Like, I don't agree with some of that. Like, he didn't want to see his teammates and all this stuff. I'm like, dude's gonna get a heck of a reaction in Philly, but I'm so burnt out on the story. Please.
And there's no easy answer to where's he going, right? Like what team is he going to get traded to? Because it was kind of everybody's answer was the Timberwolves, and then all of a sudden the Timberwolves fired their GM, who was a former Mavericks GM for 3 months. And so
another example of, guys, just wait for the rest of the story to come out before you fire off your hot takes on Twitter about.
Seriously, yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Anyway.
But yeah, let's focus on some of the actual like basketball type questions we want answered for the Dallas Mavericks, because the vaccine question is going to be huge. Ben Simmons is going to be huge all across the NBA. I don't think that's a Mavericks specific question. I don't think that'll come up in Mavericks media. If it does, we'll see. But what are some questions we want answered? Let's start with Luka. I think that's going to be the biggest one for us. I think. If you could ask Luka one question, I think what would it be?
I want to just ask him about Jason Kidd. I mean, this is. For a lot of players, I mean, even for Brunson, for Dwight Powell, for Dorian Finney-Smith, for Maxey, their whole careers have been, short careers so far, but have been playing for, not Dwight Powell. He came from Boston, but like these guys have played for Rick their entire career. Now everything's changing, not just Rick, but majority of the coaching staff. So I want to talk to Luka about, like, what did you know about Jason Kidd before? Like, did you really look up to him? What are you excited about with Kidd that, maybe you weren't about Rick, what I want to have that dialogue with Luka on the Jason Kidd coaching hire.
That's absolutely huge, because there was talks and rumors and rumblings that he was getting kind of tired of Rick Carlisle, right? And can Jason Kidd, who other players around the league have said, I've gotten tired of Jason Kidd, right? I've been done with Jason Kidd. Can Jason Kidd, has he learned or grown from that time in his life, and has he taken any of that and put it into action already with Luka? I think that's going to be a massive thing. And just how is he going to use Luka differently? What's he going to do? I mean, is it different coaching? How is he going to handle when Luka doesn't want to be taken out of a playoff game and Rick Carlisle would have just taken him out anyway? And will Jason Kidd just sort of like, okay, put the ego down and let Luka dictate what he does instead of me dictate what he does? Because that's come out in the past. The Jason Kidd ego has sort of gotten in the way.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing. That's a massive thing tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like
today.
It's today, but like we've heard so much about like who's going to be the person to get in Luka's face. And because Rick really didn't do that a lot, you didn't see those interactions. And, is it Igor? Is it Jason Kidd? Who is that? Like, is that something, that whole dialogue, like, is that what Luka wants? Like, he can be coached, guys. Like, we've seen this before. Yeah. I'm so curious on the Jason Kidd Luka dynamic. Is it going to be something super tight, super close, like Kidd with Giannis, with Chris Middleton, even with, LeBron, those guys as assistant in LA? Is it going to be something like that? Or is there going to be a little friction at the beginning because Kidd's going to be getting in his face and telling him stuff that maybe Rick never told him?
Absolutely. That's going to be massive stuff. Coming up, let's get into some more stuff about bigger questions we want to have asked Kristaps Porzingis, Jason Kidd, even Nico Harrison, some other players down the roster, and we still have to tell you our news about Media Day. So we'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about a new fantasy basketball app that will help you with something that you just deal with every time you play fantasy basketball, and that is Sleeper. They have a brand new way of playing fantasy basketball. It's called Game Pick. It's only available on Sleeper. In Game Pick, owners pick a single game per week for each starter to count towards their team's total score, ensuring that an even number of games gets played between opponents. You always run into my player plays 4 games and this other player plays 3 games, and so you get the advantage or you get a disadvantage. There's all this kind of stuff that you just run into. Go to Sleeper and use their the Sleeper app. Download it right now. Start your league using Game Picks. It's awesome to be able to just pick one game a week. It's better strategy. It's not just whoever has the most numbers in terms of games played and all that kind of stuff. They've cracked the fantasy basketball code. Again, download the Sleeper app and start your league with friends today. You will not be disappointed. Also, let me tell you about maybe the one thing that will save your Mavericks watching season this year. I think this is honestly, there's 1 or 2 streaming services that will actually have the Mavericks, and DirecTV Stream is one of those. Does it sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game, another one that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sports highlights on your phone. You got your neighbor's best friends log in for the good stuff. The good stuff happens to be Mavericks games, Bally Sports. DirecTV can have that with a certain package. So go to directtv.com. You can learn more about it. Check out the different options. And you can get Bally Sports on there. I was trying to figure out, how are we going to watch Mavs games? And DirecTV Stream is one of those. Go to directtv.com. Again, directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into some more stuff about Media Day. What are the biggest questions we have about Media Day? We're going to be telling you about that. But thank you for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We're still going to get that Media Day news, but make sure your second listen of the day is Locked On Fantasy Basketball with Josh Lloyd, the #1 fantasy basketball podcast. All right, Isaac, what's your second biggest question of Media Day? After talking to Luka, after asking Luka, about his offseason, about Jason Kidd, about all that, what's your second biggest thing that you're wanting to ask somebody?
Oh gosh. I want to hear about the Luka Kristaps relationship. And
on both sides.
I want to hear it from 3 different sides, really. I want to hear it from Jason Kidd's side. I want to hear it just like what he thinks about it from his standpoint, what he thinks about 2 players that are maybe not on the exact same page. And I want to hear it from Porzingis and Luka. I want to hear in their own words of like, hey, was this overblown? Was this, is there friction there? It's like, hey, that's just part of it. And we're working together. Like, we're excited for this season and we're going to, that
is either player going to answer this question though? This is what I'm kind of worried about.
I can see Porzingis answering it.
Porzingis answers everything.
Yeah,
that's the thing we like about him, right? That he's going to answer everything. He'll give a thought about it. Luka will, if he wants to say something, maybe he'll say a sentence. But I'm not sure that they're just going to say no, it was overblown, and that was it, right? Is that the answer they're just going to give us?
I don't know if they'll say it was overblown. I think they'll definitely both try to downplay it, but I just want to see if they acknowledge it. That's my only thing. Like, do they? Because there was definitely tension there. Like a lot of people just reported on it. It was there. So I want to see how they just address it. I mean, it has to be thrown out there.
There was even reports that, I think along with the Luka Kristaps relationship, I think my biggest question to ask Porzingis is, and even I think I'm going to ask Jason Kidd this instead, but what did Jason Kidd have to convince Kristaps Porzingis about to make him not want to trade? Because there's reporting recently that Porzingis wanted to trade at the end of the season and that he was going to get traded. And we both expected him to be traded at the end of the season. We thought that was the big thing the Mavericks were going to change. Yep. Instead, the big thing they changed was the front office and the coach, which was massive, massive change. So what changed for Porzingis? Did Jason Kidd tell him something? Was it something that changed?
KP's like, Rick's gone.
Was it something that changed between Luka and KP's relationship? Right. It's I think it's one of those two things. And so what changed for Porzingis to make him not want to demand a trade, or the Mavericks told him no? Maybe that's what happened. But I think that's a big thing that goes along with the Luka KP relationship.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing with KP. I mean, we're obviously going to talk about his health. Where he's at right now. We'll all take a drink when he talks about the healthy offseason. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with KP. Then you just get into some of the role players. It's like you look at a guy like Jalen Brunson. Brunson, his role in a team, he's up for a contract extension, hasn't happened yet. That deadline's coming, in October. So at some point, we got to figure out what are they going to do with Brunson? How is Brunson feeling going into this season? We just watched him in a Clippers series where he didn't have a big role on that team. He got played off the floor and couldn't find minutes, and Rick kind of benched him at times. And how is he feeling going into this season?
Yeah, I think my question for him is going to be, you were averaging like 20 minutes a game the first 4 games against the Clippers. The last 3 games, you averaged 10 minutes a game. What can you do this season and this offseason to earn those minutes and to play more? Like, what can you do? Kind of like the question is kind of, how can you stay in that series and play in that series? What can Jalen Brunson do, to become that better secondary creator the Mavericks want? Can he fill those shoes a little bit until they get somebody else, or enough that they don't have to get somebody else?
Yeah. And how does he feel about the secondary creator conversation?
Yeah.
That has been a conversation that is not just a media driven conversation. I mean, Mark Cuban was at a school here in Dallas at the early part of the summer saying that we got to get a wing, another guy who can, score the basketball and stuff. And so I'm curious. That was more, I think if you had to pick a player that was more directed at, it probably impacted KP a little bit more than Brunson. But it's can Brunson be the secondary creator that we all envision? Dragic or Kyle Lowry, all these names we talked about over the summer. How does he feel about that? Does he think that he's that guy, or is he like, no, I want to be that guy? Or I'm like, hey, whatever role they want me in, then I'm good.
Those are probably the big questions that are going to be going around about Luka, Porzingis, Brunson. We want to share our news now.
Oh, let's go. Let's know real quick about what Media Day is. So, if you're unfamiliar with Media Day, it happens at the beginning of every season. It's kind of like the kickoff party, except it's not a party for players, because it's
the first day of school when you talk about the syllabus. Yep. It's picture day, and it's I don't know, your yearbook signing all in one day. It's all that stuff at once.
So typically in pre-COVID years, this would happen at American Airlines Center. They would have all of these different stations. So it'd be all the TV stations. They would have Dallas Morning News, newspapers, Mavs.com would have a station set up with all this backdrop stuff. They would have all these different rooms that were stationed off with people that they would record stuff that you would see on the Jumbotron. They would have NBA TV there. Yeah. Maybe ESPN would be there. Basically 20 to 30 different stations. And then in between all of that, as the players are rotating around one by one to each station, they would have these distinct press conference times to where Luka would be 1:00 on the dot. And for 15 minutes, he would take questions from all the reporters. So basically all the reporters and media could walk around and ask players stuff in between their, stations. But basically you're just going for, the press conference room at their designated time. Now in COVID years, the main press conference part of it is all on Zoom. So all media will have access to that Zoom. You can ask questions over Zoom, but there's still going to be the stations around. So they're still going to, make their stations around for the media that, is allowed there to have a setup and stuff to take pictures of the players or ask them questions or whatever. And Nick, for the first time this year, Locked On Mavs, yours truly, Nick and myself, we're going to have a station at Mavs Media Day. And the players are going to rotate through and talk with both of us, including Jason Kidd. And yeah, you're going to get all this bonus content from us. So you're going to see a lot of the quotes from the press conferences tweeted out and stuff, because a lot of people will be in those Zoom sessions. The only access people will have to our interviews will be you're going to have to watch that on YouTube or listen to it on the podcast as we're dropping it over the next few days.
Yep. So we will be one of the stations. It's a really big deal for us, and so are very happy. Thank you to WFAA who helped us do this, and for Mavs PR and all that stuff. Thank you to everybody. But yeah, it's going to be, for you guys listening, for the Raccoon Squad, it's going to be awesome because we're going to have basically a one-on-one with every player that we can get, basically. Yeah. And we'll put those all on YouTube in full, and then we'll do some fun stuff with them and all that kind of stuff. Everything that you expect from Locked On Mavs. Yeah, so it's going to be awesome. So that means we're also there on Media Day. There's only going to probably be like 10 to 12 media people in person, which is insane that we are part of that. And now we've gotten to that point. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be fun. So if you have not subscribed to the podcast, because it's going to be subscribe on YouTube, because everything's going to be on video, and so everything will be unmasked.
We have some good questions planned, like questions that you will want answered. Some serious questions, like some of the ones that we're talking about, that we want to ask Jason Kidd. We want to ask Porzingis about his relationship with Luka, see what he tells us straight up, and more of a small table interview setting. And then we have a lot of fun questions too. Like there's a lot of funny stuff.
Should I give him one of them?
Give him one of the fun questions.
One of my fun questions is: would you rather fight one Boban-sized squirrel or 100 squirrel-sized Bobans?
This is the content that Locked On Mavs will give you.
No one else is asking that question on Media Day.
Locked On Mavs takes on Media Day. That's going to be, I might chronicle a lot of this on Twitter or Instagram. Just like,
yes, follow us at Locked On Mavs, at Isaac L. Harris, at Nick Van Exit. Get us to that next level, and we will be sharing all kinds of stuff, photos, videos, all kinds of stuff from Media Day. So coming up, let's talk more about the things that we want answered on Media Day, maybe some fun stuff, and then I'm going to get Isaac's takes on some rapid-fire stuff that he didn't talk about last week, so we'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Built Bar. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. They're delicious. I eat them all the time. I'm doing ASMR again. You can hear I just had the coconut, or the cookie dough chunk. I just had that one today. They're great. It's got little cookie dough in it, and you're like, how can this bar possibly have just like 6 grams of sugar in it? It doesn't make any sense that it is, but it does. They have new bars coming out all the time: mint marshmallow puffs, banana cream puffs, as well as coconut marshmallow puffs. I love the puffs. They got marshmallow in all of them. Go to built.com. Use the promo code locked15, promo code locked15 to get 15% off any box of Built bars. You can do a bunch of different ones. You could just do 3 different bars in a box. They are great. We eat them a lot. Buy them. They're great. That's it.
Buy them.
Buy them. That's my pitch. All right, Isaac, let's get into some more questions we want answered at Media Day. I think I'm going to ask, I want to ask Nico Harrison, was there a trade or a deal this summer that happened, or that was going to happen, that he thought was done, that didn't end up being done? Because that always seems to happen. And Cuban always seems to have we thought this was done, and it wasn't, right? Like,
Donnie,
was there one this year?
Donnie would always say that too.
Was there one this? Yeah, right. Was there one this year? I'm curious if you would tell us that.
I just think he's going to be so trained up that he's going to be like, oh, we're always talking, always staying active.
Yeah, do we miss the window of him being honest about stuff? And him now just being, because he was kind of new to it, right? Like the introductory press conference with Nico Harrison and Jason Kidd and Cuban and St. Marshall was Nico Harrison's first press conference as a person that would have a press conference, right? Yeah. Like, it had never happened for him before at Nike, where he was the one answering questions, and he was helping people answer questions. But yeah, so maybe he's been media trained up by the time we get to him. But I'd be interested to see if there's a hint at a Dragic deal, or a hint at, we thought the Lowry thing was done, something like that.
Yeah, I want to ask him how many Nike shoes he owns. I'm assuming this will be one of your rapid fire questions for me at the end of this, but I want to ask him why he didn't bring Bob back. And just that, the Voulgaris, story came out, when I was out, and yeah.
Let's get into it, because we talked about this story while you were gone. Haralabos Voulgaris is not coming back. And in the story, Brad Townsend got the scoop of the Dallas Morning News, so go check out Brad Townsend's piece on it. Yeah. But in it, it specifically mentions that Nico Harrison made the decision to not bring back Haralabos Voulgaris. So it was Nico Harrison's decision to do it. So
that was Nico Harrison's decision.
That's what it said.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying that he's calling the shots. That's a positive sign to see Nico Harrison, that he's getting that power to make those type of decisions.
Was it the right decision?
Yes, 100%.
We have no qualms in not bringing back Haralabos, right?
No,
like that,
no.
it's done. When the star player and seemed like a bunch of other people in the organization were like, I'm done with this guy.
Yeah.
We should all be done with this guy.
Yeah. It's fine. I'm sure Bob's doing just fine in Greece.
Bob's doing great.
Wherever he actually fired off a few tweets that day too. I saw some of that and that I thought were interesting.
He can tweet again now.
Yeah.
It's just like Magic Johnson. When Magic Johnson was done with being in the Lakers front office, he could tweet again, and now Haralabos can tweet again. All right, another question I know you're going to ask. This is another thing I wanted to get your take on. Patrick Beverley did an Instagram live and said Luka was the toughest player he's ever had to guard, but he's got, quote, I've got something for him this year. What would Patrick Beverley possibly have for Luka this year? And I know we want to ask Luka about it.
He's got him a winter coat from Minnesota. No, bro, you don't have anything for Luka. I'm sorry.
Yo, I was listening to Zach Lowe and John Krasinski, Minnesota Timberwolves reporter at The Athletic. They don't think Patrick Beverley's going to even start for them.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, who would he start over? I mean, he's not going to start over Russell and Anthony Edwards.
We'll start with them. Start over like Jaden McDaniels. But I bring up that point because he's going from starting on the Clippers to now coming off the bench for the Timberwolves. Maybe be quiet a little bit.
Spoiler alert, I want to ask Luka about Pat Beverley.
Yeah, right. That's why I brought it up because I know you're going to ask him about it, and we'll see what Luka has to say. We'll see if he's into that or not.
Yeah.
While you're gone, JJ Redick announced his retirement.
Great career. Hats off to him. I've talked about this before, but I absolutely hated this man when he was in college, and I hated him at Duke. He was so annoying to root against, but I haven't done an about face more on a player than him getting to the league. And then I had this like weird phase where I'm like, am I really starting to like JJ Redick at this point? This is
I think a lot of people had that.
I know, and then towards the end, I loved him, and I love what he's doing with the podcast media world, and he's great. And also, obviously Gallagher does a lot of work for him, and I mean,
we like Gallagher to be employed.
Yeah, and hats off to him. Now he can live in Brooklyn with his family and do his thing.
There was a reporting over the weekend that Kristaps Porzingis wanted to be traded from Tim McMahon. Quote, at the end of last year, Porzingis wanted to be traded. My understanding is feels like he has a fresh start with the coaching change. He's had the healthy offseason. He's coming back with a refreshed feel. What is it? What's the feeling? What changed? That's a big thing. But were you surprised that Kristaps Porzingis wanted to trade himself?
0%.
Not surprised at all.
Not surprised at all. We hinted about that on this podcast. There was a reason why, I don't want to get into the whole we're not in the reporting world, but there's a reason why we expected him to be gone. And I did. I expect him to be gone going into the season or into the off season. And then, the whole Rick Donnie thing happened. And, I don't want to get into all that, but that's your answer. That point blank, it's a new coach. I joked about it a little bit ago, but if Rick was coming back, then I don't think KP's here.
Yeah, we thought one of those things was going to change. Donnie, Rick, or KP. And it turned out that it was the two guys in leadership.
Yeah.
While you were gone, SI and ESPN both did their annual offseason player rankings.
I didn't see SI do one, but
ESPN had Luka at 4 after Durant, Giannis, and LeBron. And SI had Luka at 6 after KD, Giannis, LeBron, Steph, and Jokic. So basically the difference between the two is that ESPN thinks that Luka is better than Steph and Jokic, and SI does not.
Yeah, I think it's either way. It's hard. Yeah. You're picking things here and there. I would personally put him over Steph. I think the Jokic one is a little hard. Jokic just won MVP and put up some just insane numbers and has had a little bit more playoff experience and success.
Luka, not than Steph.
Yeah. Well, success than Luka. I just think he's a top 6 player. Who is 7 on that list? Do we know? I put Luka over James Harden and
on the SI. On the SI list, it went number 1 KD, Giannis, LeBron, Steph, Jokic, Luka at 6.
Yeah.
Then Harden, Embiid, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, who is weirdly placed on this list because you're like, are you trying to put him lower because of the injury, or he not?
Yeah. See, I think it's a top 7. I think Kawhi is in that, and it's
and
Luka.
Harden would be out.
Yeah.
Harden, Embiid, AD, Dame, they're all out.
I just think they're in a slight tier below Harden, Embiid, Dame, and some of those.
Tears for fears. Here's one on the SI list. Kristaps Porzingis was like 58, I think. Over him was DeAndre Hunter.
Interesting. Okay.
No thoughts?
No.
All right, what should people expect from Media Day today? What kinds of things are going to come out? What should people be looking for? We're not 100% sure if it's being streamed anywhere. Mavs.com usually does something like that, but we're not sure because of the way that they're changing it this year. They may put precedent towards not streaming it so that media can actually so they can actually report stuff. But we'll see, because a lot of people are going to be stuck on Zoom, reporter-wise. So we're not 100% sure. I'm getting questions about that in DMs, but what should people expect?
I mean, it's the first media day without Rick Carlisle. Like I think that's the biggest thing. I think that will be the number one thing. We're having a new guy at the helm, Jason Kidd. Every player is going to get asked about Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd's going to get questions again. The last time we saw Jason Kidd was on stage with Reggie Bullock and all those guys on that Friday. Introducing the new guys, and I think he'll just get more questions probably about the offseason. And I think Jason Kidd's the bigger story. Like we all know what to expect from Luka. Like we'll see. I mean, we'll examine. I think one of the biggest things, for Media Day is always fun is the media that's on the ground there. That's like, oh man, Luka looks slimmer. And just wait. I'll tweet a picture out tomorrow, and I'll make it I'll tweet out Luka slim ? And just
we should come up with a name for it. Skinny Luka or.
We'll put it out
Luka
there.
Light? Oh, that's it. Luka Light?
Yes, that's what it is. And
LITE.
But yeah, it's a fun day. Typically it was more like relaxed because they're doing a lot of fun, like random funny stuff too.
Yeah, you mentioned everything you see in arena that's like, okay, can you name 10 states, or how many states can you name in 10 seconds? Like those videos where they put it against a fan, all that stuff gets done today, Monday, like all that stuff.
Or like those videos you see on the Jumbotron of like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, the feature presentation.
And it's just the heads, and they're like moving. It's literally them in a room to where somebody has a clipboard saying, "Make a surprised face."
Yeah.
Make a you're sad. And they're like making all these faces, turning their heads, doing, and then they just capture all that and then make it into this video. It's crazy, but that's the type of stuff Media Day is. A lot of these, photos you'll see on USA Today that's used for all the story stuff. It'll be there. And so, yeah, I think that's who has the biggest like body transformation. It's who's lost weight, who's put on more muscle. Is Josh Green showing up just jacked? And we're like, whoa, jacked Josh Green. And he's
hashtag Jack Josh.
If we had time, we would do the Media Day, bingo of who put on, 10 pounds over the off season, and the healthy off season for KP. And
should I find her one from last year real quick?
But no, it should be fun. And then, training camp kicks off on Tuesday, big time. And then,
I have our Media Day Media Day bingo from the last 3 years.
Wow.
On here. We've got Luka's asked about video games. Luka and KP are mentioned as one of the great duos in the league. That's not maybe happening anymore. Rick Carlisle claps back at a reporter. That one's gone.
Shucks.
This was 2020. So DeLon Wright is asked about his relationship with Dwayne Wade.
Shout out to DeLon Wright.
The Miami trip is mentioned. You remember the Miami trip?
I remember that one. Yeah.
I guess that was from 2019. That one's from 2019. Anyone says the word tanking, that was from the 2019 Media Day, because they had tanked the year before, kind of tanked it the year before.
You know who I'm excited about seeing? Frank Ntilikina. I want to see his 7'1" wingspan like next to us. I think he's going to be a guy that media will be like, oh man, he's bigger than I thought. And
yeah, because he's like 6'6" with like a 7-foot wingspan, right?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Ntilikina buzz too. He's my under the radar prediction for training camp, that there's going to be a Ntilikina buzz, that he's killing it in camp and like everything.
Media Day 2018. EuroLeague is referred to as the, quote, second best league in the world. Dennis Smith Jr. is asked about playing off the ball.
Oh, wow.
Luka Doncic is asked about Jennifer Aniston.
No. Listen.
Harrison Barnes is asked about rebounds, free throws, or assists.
Wow.
These are all things that we were like, all right, let's guess what things are going to be asked on Media Day.
Yeah.
And we put a bingo. Devin Harris jokes that the third time is the charm because he came back to the Mavs for the third time. DeAndre Jordan is asked jokingly about Emoji Gate. Good stuff, guys. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. We appreciate it. We will have so much stuff for you coming up the next couple of days. So subscribe on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Mavs your first listen of the day. Now,
follow us on Twitter.
For your second listen, go to Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd's been doing an amazing series preview. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.